everybody. My name's Craig.
I'm Brian.
I'm Burke.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is Get Dunked On, the podcast.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. We pillage, we plunder, we take what we want, drink up, me hotties, yo ho.
You're not in the Sea of Thieves, Alpha or Beta, whatever it's in now.
No, I'm not. I missed that whole thing. But
that was one of my
cool.
favorite things to do on Assassin's Creed Black Flag was literally just sail around listening to them sing sea shanties.
Why do that when you could just call up your buddy Brian and have him sing sea shanties to you in the first place?
Drink up, me hotties, yo ho. No, so like, all right, so on Netflix, Pirates of the Caribbean, I just saw it on there the other day that it was available, and it's probably been on there for a long time, but it's the first time I had seen it, and I was like, oh, that's a really good Netflix show, and I saw it after I had just watched a not as good Netflix movie. So I don't know if this movie was made for Netflix or made for the big screen or what, but I'm assuming it was made like for Netflix, but it's called Security. Have you guys seen this movie?
Security?
No, I have not.
Okay, it stars Antonio Banderas, which I love Antonio Banderas for the record. The guy's awesome. But tell me if you've heard this premise before, okay? Retired military man can't find a job, so he takes the role as a security officer at a mall. But unbeknownst to him, a major incident starring real criminals that are part of Assassin's Group attack the mall and try to get a little girl, and he has to basically MacGyver his way through the mall using the things inside of it to stop them. Have you seen this movie before?
A more action version of Paul Blart?
It's exactly Paul Blart. It's basically exactly. Like,
see, Brian, the mistake you made is you didn't read the secret little subtext that said Mall Cop 3.
Well, the kicker to it is that
the ancient origin of Paul Blart.
It was so Paul Blart, but like Antonio Banderas was playing like a badass, like whereas Paul Blart was there for comedy. Like this dude was down on your luck, like secure, guy. He was like, and like the whole thing was like it was outrageous premise after outrageous premise after outrageous premise, but all still so by the numbers that it became somehow boring. Like, first off, we all know that those movies are basically Home Alone, right? But for an adult, like that's just in a mall, like that's all it is. And so they're like, okay, well, we're gonna have him be in there and Home Alone his way out of this whole situation, and the premise was so fucking stupid. I can't even begin to explain it, but like there were so many setups at the beginning where they're showing them around the mall that you were like, okay, this is going to come in later. This is going to come in later. They show them a motorcycle in the mall and they're like, we get to drive it around. It's fully gassed up and works completely, but we're not allowed to drive it normally. And I'm like, okay, so later on he's going to drive the motorcycle through the mall. Like,
yeah,
we all
totally
see
not
that.
Act 3. Going to bring that back around.
And it like keeps going like this, but they did it in such the whole movie was like an hour and 20, so they basically did like all the setup in under 5 minutes, and they're like, hey, he's in the mall, here's all this shit, and then all of a sudden, boom, the little girl runs into the mall, they're after me, they're like, who? It's the mob, and it just fucking goes crazy. It was the worst movie I've seen in a long time. Have you guys ever just done that, gone on Netflix and like gambled?
Hold on. Tell me if you've heard this premise before.
Okay.
You introduce your main character, and your main character is, well, they might have some redeeming qualities. They're really not likable, and you can definitely tell they need some changes in their life. They wake up either by the next day or being knocked out or something along those lines, usually the next day. They wake up and they find out everything's been to shit. And at the end of that day, they find themselves going back to sleep and waking back up in the same exact day.
Wait a minute. This sounds awfully familiar.
This was a Tuesday in Supernatural.
Yes.
And it was on Groundhog Day in Groundhog Day.
Yes, and I've run into this because there's also a Netflix movie that came out that was very similar. It was called Naked with Marlon Wayans is the star of it, where he's not the asshole like pretty much everyone else is. Like you think of Groundhog's Day, Bill Murray's character is kind of an asshole
because they were an asshole.
Happy Death Day, the movie that just came out, she's an asshole. Like she's unlikable, and then Freaky
Friday. It's not time traveling, but it's the same premise. Like she's in that situation because she's not an appreciative daughter.
Yeah.
And Naked's a little different to where the guy's not an asshole. He's just like a lazy fuck, and you're like, but he's unlikable that way, where it's like, oh, you could be so much more, but you don't try, and they set him up where he's a substitute teacher and they offer him a full-time gig. He's like, no, I'd have to actually work 5 days a week. I don't want that. I want to work 2 days a week. Like, they set him up to be that asshole where he's super lazy. Wow. And by having to wake up on the same day over and over again, he learns to be hardworking and shit.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But in that way, Brian, now when you see those movies pop up, do you still actively go, okay, I'm going to watch that now?
I just said I watched that film. I read the description on it.
Watching that film and watching any of those films in that type of storyline, are you still going to click it?
Oh yeah, all the time. Because
I will click every single one of them. That's the I'm stuck in a time loop one. I will watch those no matter what. I went to opening day of Happy Death Day knowing I was like, this is not going to be anything revolutionary, but I absolutely love the idea of being stuck in a time loop and like learning from it and whatnot. So I'm right there with you, Brian. I have those. And even though you see everything that they're setting up,
paint by numbers,
single thing, you see them setting it up. You're like, don't care. I love it.
Like he literally at one point, he electrified a gate using a car battery. What? Like Jesus Christ! Kevin McAllister did that.
Are those usually considered flops though?
With those types of movies?
Yeah.
Hell yeah! Are you kidding me?
But you still like them?
Like, for some reason, anytime I get a movie that is effectively a Home Alone, but just for an adult, like, whatever, then yeah, I'm in. Although this one, I will admit, did do one thing differently, which is normally, and I'm going to spoil this because you guys aren't going to watch this movie, I can tell by your looks. Basically, the long and short of it is that the other employee that he's there with, like, normally they all get out of it alive and everything else.
Did he call the mob?
No, everybody dies. like everybody but him, basically.
Was the partner played by Kevin James?
No, but the bad guy was played by like one of those guys. Like I will look up the actor and send it to you guys. But basically, like he was played by basically like the quintessential always bad guy actor. You know what I mean? Like, the he looks bad. He has the vaguely European accent, and he's just like, we're going to kill you in there. Oh yeah, classic. But Burke, what about you? Do you ever watch anything like that?
I love
Ben Kingsley.
B movies.
That's the one, Ben Kingsley.
Yeah. Okay, yes, Ben Kingsley.
You know who he is when you see him.
Probably would. No, what I was I think for me, for one of those things kind of like that is a horror or B movies that are horror movies as well. Kind of like going along with what we talked about a couple weeks ago, but I don't know what it is. That's probably the only horror movie I can watch because I don't get scared, because I can make fun of it the whole way through.
Oh yeah.
And I absolutely love it. Like, and I think what got me into that was actually the Broken Lizard guys. The guys who did Super Troopers.
Was it Club Dread?
Club Dread.
That was
And like I watched it one time, thought it was a serious movie, didn't like it. Then I went, this is not what I expected. Then I realized it was supposed to be funny, and ever since then, like, I can make fun of B horror movies, and I'm like, and it's phenomenal. Like, and like that's what and it's probably that fault. And yes, they're so predictable.
Oh yeah,
for the most part, but I love it. I just love it. So,
oh man. Yeah, that's actually kind of funny because those Broken Lizard guys, I like that movie Club Dread a lot.
Oh, like yeah, it's not Super Troopers, but I like it better than Beer Fest and some of their other stuff.
Ooh, that's a tough call. Yeah,
I mean Beer Fest was really good, but
Beer Fest was great.
But I just loved Club Dread, and like probably because of the nostalgia of it too. That's
sure.
Yeah. So
I mean, you know that movie flopped, by the way.
Yeah.
Club Dread did?
Yeah, big time.
Oh yeah. It was awful.
Club Dread was a huge flop.
Yeah, especially coming off of Super Troopers. Yes.
Yes, I mean, it's one of those things where it's still one of my favorites.
Hey Brian, what are we talking
transition
about?
Of all time.
Wow. As if Craig didn't do a better one earlier. Craig, let's go back to yours. Let's just cut that one out.
Ooh, you guys are no fun.
No, but that's what we will be talking about today. We're going to be talking about things that we personally liked that in our eyes, flopped for everybody else. So I want to put that out there because some of these might not necessarily, at least for mine, they might not be like commercial flops where they didn't make money, but they did not hit people's expectations and quickly were dumped afterwards type of thing. So does anybody have like a really good one that they really think would be everybody else in the world hates this, or a lot of people hated it, but I still really love it? Does anybody have like a really good one like that?
The main one for me, kind of, I think, is like that. It's not, hate isn't the word I would use though, but yeah, mine is kind of like that. I have like 4 other little ones, but my main one is like that, I think.
Okay, so we'll go with your main one. Let's kick it off so we can get an idea.
All right, so I'm going to jump right in here. My number one all-time favorite flop, Sega Dreamcast.
Sega Dreamcast.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I still
play my Dreamcast. I adore my Dreamcast, and I will fight people over.
Wow.
Best game for Dreamcast. Oh.
Huh?
What was the best game for Dreamcast?
Power Stone and Power Stone 2.
No, okay.
I for me there was 2 different ones. I played.
I'm only mentioning those because they're basically exclusive. That
okay. I played Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, Sonic Adventures are great games, but I was like, I'll name a kind of exclusive.
Right. And then the other one, it's still not exclusive, but the 2K. Oh, actually, the 2K, the NFL 2K or whatever it was at the time, may have been exclusive, but it was the only game that I remember that you could actively lateral the ball back and you could create plays out of laterals. It was amazing.
But yeah, that's mine. I don't think people necessarily hate the system itself. The controller gets a lot of hate, but I actually like the controller. I found the controller very comfortable. I never had issues with it.
Didn't the cord come out the bottom though?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure
the
wasn't that the
VMUs
one?
were at the top.
Yeah, that's right.
I liked the VMUs. I thought they were a nifty idea that kind of got they never got to really take off because, the system didn't last very long. But the VMUs, I think, were a really neat idea. Yeah, I love my Dreamcast.
Okay. Actually, that kind of ties into my first one because it's also a game console. I only did one gaming-related one, and it was the GameCube. The GameCube was a commercial failure by every stretch of the imagination. The PlayStation 2 blew it out of the water by like 100 billion years. It wasn't even close.
But that's funny because PlayStation 2 also is what ruined the Dreamcast too.
Yeah, same time frame. But the GameCube was arguably one of if not my favorite system. I had more fun with GameCube games than I think pretty much any other system at the time, or since there's been a few good ones here and there, but like realistically, I had Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. We had all those Mario parties, and Mario 4, 5, and 6 and 7 were all on GameCube, and we used to travel and play those as a group, with all the friends and everything else. Like it was like the party system, and it was light and it was easy to travel with. Like everything about it was smooth. Plus the discs were tiny. And whereas some people really weren't keen on that, I thought that was the damn future. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever.
I'm totally with you on that. I had an obsession probably with the small discs, probably because of the GameCube, because that was honestly the first console system that I bought for myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I didn't have, I got the NES given to me, when the 64 was out. And so the GameCube, like I earned money, got a job, went out and bought it and absolutely loved it. Until I got my Xbox and discovered Halo. But
yeah.
like that, did I know it was a flop? Probably not, because I didn't care at the time. Like that was it was brand new to me. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I played the shit out of that system. I actually, that's the only system, I regret like either selling or getting rid of. And I actually sold it to get my Xbox. And I wish at the time.
I want to point out, GameCube totally beast. You throw that shit off a building and it was like, eh.
It's true.
Yeah.
That thing was indestructible.
It was the Nokia of game systems. But yeah, no, I agree. That was one of the ones that was actually on my list as well. But at the time, I didn't realize what a flop it was because I
didn't either.
Yeah.
I'm right with you, Burke. Like I thought, like in my head, I thought like the GameCube dominated that generation.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the GameCube. It's like obviously. Then like I only knew like 2 people who had a PlayStation. I was like, that ragtag thing.
I think that one's a little harder because like compared to those, it flopped. But like it was, if it would have been by itself, it was not like It would not have been considered a flop.
Right, but I mean, I was like, this has Mario
like,
on it.
You know,
Who's ever heard
that
of
was
a
like
Crash
a
Bandicoot?
straight,
Yeah.
And the thing with that as well is it still has a lot of reverence to people now. Like the GameCube is still a pretty good system for a lot of people. But I've got one that's also gaming related here that I'm pretty sure one of you is going to actively might leave the podcast.
It's going to be
saying
me,
this.
It's
Yes, it is.
always good. God dang it!
Man.
You just
might
pick stuff to
actively
piss me
leave the
off.
podcast.
That's what you do.
And it's one of those things where I kept it kind of under wraps how much I liked it because I didn't want to upset you, Brian. Because I know that you just hated almost every aspect of it. I really liked Fable 3.
Fuck you.
I had a lot of fun with Fable 3, even though pretty much it sold well probably at the beginning, and then just all support basically dropped for it, and everybody was like, yeah, we're gonna wash our hands of this game. I really enjoyed it. Like games that do co-op well always just sit well in my heart, and that's one thing it did co-op well, as much as maybe the story wasn't great and all these other things, but
I honestly don't remember it, but I probably did like the co-op aspect, but I know I didn't hate it.
Yeah, Fable 2
I genuinely actively hated it. I never finished it. It's the only Fable game that I never finished.
Fable 2 had the co-op where you had to be on the same screen, like you couldn't run too far away from each other.
Yeah.
And then Fable 3 introduced where it was like, hey, you can run anywhere as long as you guys are on the same map. Like you just can't leave. You know, you go pull the other person with you to the next map, but you could run anywhere. And I just like the system where you're able to like buy and rent properties out, and depending on what you put in there, you got more money on it. So I could sit there and make money while I wasn't doing anything. I still completely fucked up my entire playthrough because I got the worst possible fucking ending, I'm pretty sure. But whatever. I always wanted to go back and redo that with Brian, is give him the very best ending, but we could never play it.
No, we started playing it once together, or maybe twice even, but like every time we try to go through it, like it's like all right, we're gonna try to do this, and we're just like because it like everything about it was just stupid to me. Like I didn't like the combat, I didn't like the money scheme, I didn't like the idea behind like the first Fable was the only Fable I liked, and I loved the first original Fable. Beyond that, I hated the other two. But wow, I'm shocked that was on your list.
I really liked it, and Michelle, I would play through with you again.
Okay, yeah, I would totally play with you. I haven't, and I've just never played it. All right, so all the rest of mine are actually like food and drinks. So I'll just start with my next one here. So my second one is Crystal Pepsi. I actually never got to try it back in the day, at least that I can recall. If I did, like, I don't remember it, but I did try it when it came back last year, and it's pretty decent. Like, I don't really know why. I mean, I know why it failed, because it's just like a gimmick, but like, it's a decent drink. So
what's the gimmick with it? I don't understand.
That it's clear cola.
Oh, it's clear.
Like, people just didn't care. Like, I guess was the thing. Yeah, it's basically Pepsi that's clear, and it does taste slightly different, but I feel like if your eyes were closed and you had no idea, you probably wouldn't be able to be like, this isn't a cola. Like, but I guess people did when they were drinking it because they knew it was clear. But yeah, I like Crystal Pepsi's pretty decent, actually. I really like it.
I never tried it.
Yeah,
Me
and
neither.
isn't a clear pop just Sprite? Like, you know what I mean? As far as like, there is clear pop already that exists in the world. Like that, how about people were freaked out by it?
Yeah, but this is a clear cola is what is specified, like a clear cola.
I mean, what's the
not
difference?
just clear
like
pop.
the flavor of a cola, like Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola have like
I
a
didn't realize
different
that
flavor.
cola was an actual flavor. I thought cola was just like the name of it.
No. Like, cola is the flavor of those drinks. Like, and so it was like when you drink a clear pop, you're generally expecting probably like lemon lime or something to that degree, but this was specifically a clear cola.
Weird. Okay. Huh. Yeah. The rest of mine are definitely not food or drink related. They're these are things I personally had I did really went all in on or whatever. But my number 2 is actually hybrid cars. And I want you to hear me out on this. So I own a hybrid car. I bought it in November of 2011, and I thought that by now in 2017 every car on the road was going to be a hybrid. I assumed that based on like what I had seen at the time that like hybrid cars were starting to become a little more popular. It was becoming like they're like, hey, like 40, 45, 50 miles per gallon, and I'm like, duh. I'm like, of course this is the future. Everyone's gonna buy in on hybrid cars. They're not doing it, folks.
Yeah, I've spent the last few years like hoping. Mm-hmm. I do not have one, unfortunately. But I've spent the next years hoping, like, please become normal. Please become normal. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, like for gas mileage, they've been incredible. I drove all the way down to see Craig on like $30. Like, it was ridiculous. Like you can go forever in these cars. They're great, whatever. But in my head, they were literally going to take over the road. The entirety of the world was going to run on hybrid cars because it would be stupid to have a pure gas model at this point in time. And I was wildly incorrect on that. But it's something that failed, as a grand experiment. They still exist technically, but they are not like you don't ever see Chevy going, here's our new truck and it's a hybrid. It's like,
well, they didn't make money on hybrids.
Exactly. And I wish they would have, and they would have not flopped.
Yeah.
That's our segment.
I mean, I had, I didn't have one. My parents didn't. I liked it. It was like, we had one that was like black gray, and we called it all the little kids that hung around called it the Batmobile. Because it was so quiet, you could like stealthily pull up. All you could hear. It was, I liked it, but I could never do a hybrid. No.
Yeah.
I am going hybrid or full electric on my next car. I don't have a doubt in my mind.
They're so on that one. For me, they're just so expensive, and I guess as probably a guy who probably coming from the I guess the guy who watches Top Gear and Grand Tour. I'm a petrol head. I love my cars. I like the speed. And so no.
Yeah, I have no care for the speed, and then I'll probably be the person that you guys all hate. I actively do not like it when cars are loud, like that you rev the engine. I'm like, please shut the fuck up, please. Like, I actively do not like it. I want my car to be as quiet as possible. I only want to hear my speakers with my podcast or my audiobook. It's all the sound I want. That's why, like, when big trucks down here in the South or like motorcycles go by, I'm like, oh my god, just shut the fuck up. We get it. You have a loud vehicle. I understand.
Yeah. You would hate my motorcycle.
I do not. I don't like loud cars in that fashion. Like, I actively, like, I don't mind at all. People right on the street behind me, they're driving down and I can hear every syllable of their word of the song that's being played. That doesn't bother me. Like, that doesn't bother me, but the sound of engines bothers me. It just sounds like it's abrasive to my sound, to my ears. Anyway, I'm going to go with one that was all of mine are sort of like, they didn't really necessarily flop, but they just did not do well enough to continue on. And I really wish they would have. My next one is the show Undateable. That was on NBC. Technically, it got 3 seasons. That's a decent amount in today's time. But I really, really love that show. And it was one of those shows where they aired it on Friday nights. And so you don't have to have a huge numbers on Friday nights, because Friday night is such a hard night for people to hit on good ones. So it always just like hung on by the seat of its pants, where they went, well, it would cost us more to technically like fire everyone and start something new. We've already got the set. We'll just keep with it until finally it went like so bad. Like, I love that show. The entire last season was all live, and
it was beautiful.
I love the way they did the show. It was 5 stand-up comics, and they all went through. They had 2 phases of recording the show. When it was recorded, they would record one where they just did the line straight up, and then the next one was they tried to make each other laugh by throwing improv into every single scene as much as possible. Yes. And then they would just cut together what made sense after that, or what worked well. And then that kind of carried over to their live shows because you could see when they would start like, okay, this area is literally set for this is the improv showdown of making fun of each other, where you could tell they're both going, oh yeah, well, and just was like, you knew you weren't getting like, this is going to be the most compelling TV show ever. It was just, these guys are having a ton of fun and you couldn't help but just smile as they were just doing something they loved. And it was just, I loved that show, and it was taken away from us way too early.
I agree, because you got me into it. It's a Michigan show, right? It's based in Michigan, so y'all are like, woo, Michigan, and I'm like, sure, whatever. And I finally watched it, and it got to that last season when they were doing that live stuff, and I'm like, this is fucking genius. They're in the character they're acting as, making fun of the actor, like,
really
in real time, and then the other person's not trying not to get offended and shit, and it's
they're trying to break.
But it's so fucking funny seeing them just go back and forth.
Yeah, and going through like their Twitters and stuff like that. And one of them had a podcast. They actively said like their whole goal was to make someone laugh and swear on TV because then that person would have been fined. Like that was their goal. Or like one of the times one of the girls was on can't remember what show it was, but it was something that ran for like 5 seasons and it got canceled. And like when they're in conversation during the live one, they're like, yeah, well, at least you weren't that girl from, and I can't remember whatever that show it was, but I'll just say whatever, Smallville. They're like, well, at least you weren't that girl from Smallville that got canceled in season 5, and went back and you saw her go,
yes.
It was just like, oh my God. It was just so much fun.
And dateable. Okay. That's a pretty good one.
So
yeah. I've never heard of it.
You've got to watch it. It's phenomenal. Obviously, it's not live anymore, but I'll kind of step in and do my one TV show one that I know a bunch of people like, and that's just Firefly. So I'm just gonna say that and leave it there. We don't have to talk about it. We've probably that argument's been done all over the place, but like I absolutely love that show, the Space Cowboy. Like recently, the Orville. I don't know if you have watched that or not. They kind of did one section where they had like a space cowboy kind of little funny scene. I'm like, oh, I missed Nathan Fillion when he wasn't in the shitty games called Destiny. Okay, sorry. Destiny Jab 2. All right, I'm good for the night. I'm done.
I love Orville. They've already picked up season 2 on it.
Yeah. So, anyways, Orville has not flopped yet. Let's hope it continues. So,
knock on wood.
Yes, knock on wood.
All right. So continuing down, my next one is 3D Doritos.
What?
I loved those stupid things as a kid. Did you guys not ever eat
familiar,
them?
But
they were like, to me, they were literally better than actual Doritos, but like they did not do well and they discontinued them. I'm getting like a picture for you guys, but yeah, like 3D Doritos were so.
I remember those. I don't think I liked them.
Like
you chose 3D Doritos for this podcast.
Hey, we were supposed to pick our favorites. It wasn't like pick the best ones, Brian. Awesome. It was your favorites.
I remember them and I thought they were just like, what the fuck's the point then? I can't believe she chose.
They were the future, Brian. They were 3D.
They were the future.
I'm sitting here with hybrid cars and she's like fucking turning from a triangle into a pyramid. That's just 3D. Oh my God.
Brian, you might not want to listen to the rest of mine then.
Oh my God. No, I'm sorry. Please, Michelle. I'm not trying to shit out of it. It's just that I remember 3D Doritos. Like I actively remember seeing them going like, what's the point? Like when it first came out. So it's so funny.
No, yeah, I remember I'd used to get excited to go to dollar stores because that's where they'd sell them.
I would say I would understand it because having that airiness between gives like a different, it's not going to be technically a different texture.
Like a bugle?
Yeah, like in a sense, like, yeah, like when you eat that, it's still in a different shape but like.
It's softer. Somehow, yeah. Like it's still crunchy, like me wrong, but like it's somehow softer than an actual chip.
Because there is a different. I feel like there is a different texture. Like I don't know if that's the right word, but like there would be a different like feel to biting down on that than biting down on a flat chip.
I remember it was different. I didn't like the texture. It kind of equates to crunchy Cheetos versus puffy Cheetos. Obviously, these are a lot more airy, but kind of that the texture difference you get was more. These were more similar to that kind of airy puffiness.
I think you're onto something because I like the puffy cheese things more than like the really crunchy hard ones.
I usually do
yeah.
too.
I like those better. So I think that's probably why I identify with this. I probably look at it and go, that's going to be more fun.
Huh. Interesting. There you go.
You're all out of the podcast. All of you.
Oh, I like my crunchy Cheetos and normal Doritos, but like I there's every once in a while I will go, I want the puff balls or puffy cheese things. So
wow. Yeah, I mean, okay. I got one that we can all agree on. Okay, not really. So here's something that I was just like, this is actually more of something that I like didn't mind, but it was more disappointed that it flopped, which is the Ghostbusters reboot. Like, to be honest with you, did I think that was the greatest movie? Hell no. It had a lot of flaws. The game has its flaws, but the movie had its flaws, and it was a lot of flaws. But at the same time, what it represented was a chance for the series to come back and for a new generation. And I just hoped that what they were when I heard what they were doing with it, that they were going to basically do for me, or like for like the kids of today. You know what I mean? I wanted the kids of today to be excited to go as a Ghostbuster again from you know what I mean for Halloween, or like little girls to be as excited as little boys were back in the day, kind of thing. And it to me it represented like a new chance, a new hope kind of a situation. And what I got was a flop that literally was so bad that they're like nope, cancel, shut it down. Ghostbusters is going away for another like 30 years. I'm like, no, I'll be 60.
No, I agree with you on that one. Like, it was one of those things where I always like it when you can bring some kind of new thing to a new generation, be like, this was really cool, and obviously a lot of people are trying it with the reboots and whatnot. And I do hate that people are blaming, they're like, oh, well, it was the all-female cast, like if they wouldn't have done that. I'm like,
that's not what
had
it was.
nothing to do with that. The people that wrote it didn't do very well and didn't give the actresses a chance to really do all that great. I heard like 5 fart jokes in the first 3 minutes, it felt like, of the movie. And at that point, you're like, well, that's the tone of the movie.
Well, like you have Melissa McCarthy, who's absolutely hilarious. And they were like, here's an idea. She's going to be the slapstick physical comedy person. I'm like, why? She's funny on her own. Why does she have to fall on her face every 5 minutes? It's like, oh, wow, she's testing stuff out. I'm like, God dang it, guys. Like, just, come on.
My one that was actually very similar to your kind of explanation was the Indiana Jones movie. But that was a couple years ago. It was bloody awful. But with
Kingdom of the Crystal
swinging fucking monkeys and what the fuck happened in that movie? Like I have so much nostalgia, and I wanted that for the next generation as well. And now we still, what do we still have? We still have young Indy and young Dr. Jones, but come on, like whatever. Like I wanted it to actually succeed and was very disappointed.
Yeah, that one and that one turned into so many many awful memes too. Like the fridge and you just said the swinging with the monkeys.
Yeah, it was just bad.
Yeah, they just Mm-hmm.
So my next one might be controversial to another member of the podcast, not you, Brian.
Thank God. If it was me again, my heart can't take these things.
No, it's actually Assassin's Creed Unity's co-op. Like, it was one of the things that I had so much fun with, and they put it out there. It's just the game was so shitty overall that it completely made it where it was like, no one's going to fucking play this. And so the only people that played the game at the end of it was basically Burke and I playing at one point, and no one else was playing. Yeah. Like, nobody else was. And there was 4-player missions and all this other stuff. And I even thought, I was like, this might be the game that kind of, maybe I can get Brian in on it, because Brian really, is it still true that you really haven't played any of the Assassin's Creeds?
Not a one.
And I was like, well, maybe he'll get in, like, he might do this one, and we might be able to go through and do all the...
Is that the one in France?
Yeah. We might be able to do like all the co-op missions, because there's 4-player co-op on this, and just the idea of having 4 people, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And I thought the co-op was actually done, outside of the fact that it's, like procedure, it's the same missions over and over again. You can only do so many of the missions, and it's not like the storyline. But like, I still really liked it. Like, I had a lot of fun when Burke and I were going through. We couldn't do half of them because it was 4-player, and we would do as best we can, but it's built for 4 people at like max level, and we're 2 people, and it just didn't work. And the people that you'd get in there, just all they did was they wanted to run through and stab everything without actually doing stealth. You know, I'm like, that's half the fun for me, is playing those in stealth. Like, oh, no one ever saw us. Everybody else is like, we know how to beat it. Run, stab, 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 grab the item, run, stab, stab. Like, well, yeah, this was sort of fun.
Smash and grab. We're assassins.
When we were doing the 2-player mission, we're like, okay, we're gonna both take these motherfuckers out at the same time, and it was really exhilarating. But the game, it was just so.
The game flopped, and the co-op flopped for everybody else, but I still really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
All right. So continuing my trend, my next one is also from the 90s, and it is the McDonald's Arch Deluxe Burger. And the thing with this burger is, like, this was at a time like people now know that McDonald's is trying to make fancier burgers, and this was them trying to do it in the 90s, but like in the 90s nobody wanted that shit. Like, and so like it was just a nicer burger. It's the kind of burger that you would expect to get at a place now, like Smash Burger or Five Guys, or something that's like, okay, this is just a step above fast food, but people in the 90s just weren't ready for it. But I liked it because I like other things on my burger other than meat and cheese. I know a lot of people are just, I like the meat and cheese part, but I like lettuce, tomato, sauces. Like, I like the condiments on burgers, and that's what this burger did. And like I said, like, people just didn't want it. McDonald's spent a lot of money advertising it, trying to get like a, hey, like, you can eat a little bit nicer food at McDonald's, and everyone was like, you're McDonald's.
Well, I mean, like, if they wanted that, they can just go to Wendy's, because Wendy's has all that other stuff that you were talking about.
No, and it did. But I think what was nice about this is Wendy's, for me growing up, was a lot harder to get to than a McDonald's.
No, I got you. I was just, yeah. Huh. Well, no, my number. Actually, I want to switch these around. So my new number 4, and what's number 5, but I'll get to that other one later. Is actually kind of a short list of things that I thought that were going to flop that ended up being massive successes. And this is a short list of some of the biggest hits of things that I thought that were going to completely flop and just took off. Facebook, the internet, Minecraft, and the stock market after Trump was elected. All of those things I thought were going to flop. And so for example, I sold all my stock before Trump was elected. So I didn't make any money. I didn't get a Facebook account until someone forced one on me later on in life. I thought the internet was stupid, so I was using a physical disc called Encyclopedia 96 well into the 2000s. Wow. And I thought Minecraft was a pixelated mess that no one could ever make sense of, and thought that it was the stupidest game known to man when I first heard the concept of it. So, point is, those are things that I thought that were going to be, flop that ended up being fantastic. So,
okay. One of my other ones that I backed on Kickstarter. I thought this was going to be such a cool thing, and I still really liked it. This is not that story, Brian. This is a different one.
Oh, it's not that one?
No, it's not that one. That one I just got screwed on.
Yeah, which is still funny.
Yeah. It was the coin. It was the credit card that you could load on a bunch of different credit cards at once. And then there was a button on the top that you could switch. I still really love the idea. Like, I think that idea was great. But the best thing is, people found out, well, why not just put it on your phone? Like, you've always got your phone with you. Just put all your credit cards, loyalty cards, all this other stuff. I'm like, that's the same idea. So I still really love this. I love that idea. But before really any of that started getting like massively popular, I'm sure it was on a couple Android phones at the time, and I'm sure I'll never hear the end of it. About how Android had it first, and then it wasn't till Apple had it on their thing that it like got where it was like the mass public was using it. Yeah. But like people weren't really using that at the time. Back in I pre-ordered this thing in 2012, and it took 2 years to get to me. So I bought it in 2012. I traveled the fucking country for basically 2 years, was it, Brian?
Yeah,
year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, 2
Didn't
years.
have this fucking card until the last 2 months, and then they went, okay, we want you at the desk full time now. Like, we want you home. And I was like, oh, well, I just got this thing, but oh well, it's not a big deal. I'll start using it when I go out traveling again. And then it was at that point they're like, yeah, Google Wallet, Apple Pay, all these other things are available now. You can just use your phone now. I'm like, fucking A. And so like the company's already folded. They already said like, oh, you can't get any refunds on anything. I've got the thing sitting here somewhere.
It's just PayPal. Sorry, I almost forgot. That's the other one I thought was going to fail.
I've got mine sitting right here. There's like fucking coffee stains on the back because it doesn't move.
Oh, no.
Like it's utterly useless now because you don't need it for anything because the idea of not having to take all those cards with me every time I traveled for work was awesome because I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to load on my like loyalty cards and all this other stuff because I don't want to go through them like, oh, I could pack these all up in a bag or just take the ones you need. Well, you know, I get somewhere and I realize there's a whatever restaurants right near me and I happen to have $25 to Applebee's. Like I didn't want to carry this around with the hope that I could go to an Applebee's while I was there. I've got this. I can quickly just go through and switch over to Applebee's, swipe it, and I'm good to go. And I really love the idea. And I mean, I know I'm saying I flopped and I loved it and I do, but I just have no use for it because there's no point in using it because I've got all my fucking cards on my phone now. But damn, that was one I really wish that that kind of kept away.
You took a shot.
I remember like when you first got it, you were telling me all about it. I looked it up. I was like, dude, that's fucking legit. And then, yeah, Google Pay and all that stuff. I was like,
yeah, so I have a really short, funny story about Coin. So I somehow missed that this was a thing. Missed the Kickstarter, missed the hype, never heard of it. So probably a couple years after it came out, probably around the time that, Craig, that you first got yours, I had somebody coming in to use theirs. And I was like, oh my God, they're hacking us. Like, I was like freaking out because I literally hadn't heard of this device. And he's like sitting there, like the cards were declining too. And he's like, oh, let me switch cards. And he just hits the button. And I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, he's just running like stolen numbers or something. But it was just literally like, oh, these were old cards he had loaded on it that just, you know, for whatever reason. But yeah, I was just like, that was my funny story about Coin because I just missed it. And I just thought it was like a hacking device.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Geez. Yeah, the last one I had on my list was something that say that we all know about here, but no one else in the world would know about, which is a little startup video group called 11th Moon. That is one of my favorite things that absolutely flopped because I'd say it's one of my absolute favorite things in the entire world. It never made us we only paid rent with it once. So
yes, we did pay the rent with our rock once.
Hey, and but to be fair with you, we did it. That was the dream, and that was the dream.
Yeah. That actually, you saying that is probably easily my number one thing that flopped that I absolutely loved. Like I was so fucking all in on that. I loved it.
Yeah, and I feel the same. I feel the same way, and it's one of those ones where like you're looking at it now. I'm like, would I even go down that road again? Like, yeah, I'm stupid enough to where I would absolutely go down that road again. You know, because it was just too much fun.
Yep.
Speaking of roads we might not like, Burke.
Burke, I don't have anything.
No, I meant for the quiz. It's like you take us down the road that we're not going to like.
Oh, no, it's not me doing the quiz. I hope.
It's not?
Surprise, apparently.
Get off underneath me.
Oh, shit. I'm going to have to make a quiz real quick. Can we pause the recording?
It looks like I'm one of your favorite things that failed this week. Oh, I just got dunked on. Play the end music.
Brian, you're supposed to save these for the fucking end.
I'm
God damn it. This is the second time in a row.
Oh, God. I'm so bad at this.
Yep. So mine, I wrote the quiz this week. Burke, do you have order?
It's going to be Brian, Craig, and Burke.
Okay. All right. That's good. I don't think any of them are number related. I'm pretty sure I left that part out. Yeah, I did. And I think for the whole thing, I stuck to things that were 1970s or earlier, or later, to give us a better chance of knowing them. I definitely heard of most of these before I did the quiz, so I think there's a chance that at some point you may have heard of them too, even if you don't recall them. So, tried to set you guys up for success here.
Every time you do
know how that goes, right?
Really?
You're so sweet.
Yep. Hey, I tried. That's all.
Someone's gonna win this quiz with 0.5 for a funny joke.
Ball's in your court, guys. All right. So my first question, what movie technology in the 70s was a huge flop, due largely in part to being proprietary to the company that created it?
I'm going to say 3D technology.
I'm going to say movie productions with cameras on cranes.
I'm gonna go with the Betamax.
All right, Burke's gonna get the point here.
Wow!
Yeah, the Sony Betamax, which lost out to VHSs. Yeah. So Betamax was technically superior. It was slightly better quality, but the problem was like Sony was like, it's all ours, and so everyone was like, okay, well, we'll just go to this VHS guy then that's like, hey, everybody's welcome. Plus, with the higher quality, Betamax could only hold about an hour, which VHS could hold about 2 hours. So that was the other part.
I remember
of
that
it.
being a huge part. Was they're like, porn was like, we can't fit our stuff onto one tape. We're gonna go over to this one.
I mean, most movies couldn't, if you think about it. Like 80-minute movies were pretty normal back then, so it was like, oh, we're gonna have to have a second tape for the last 15 minutes of the movie.
I see a lot of similarities, and I don't mean to derail it, but I see a lot of similarities between what they did with the Betamax and what Oculus did with their with the Oculus Rift. Trying to be like, it's all ours, and it's like, you fools, you're killing your industry.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the second question. So Pepsi has had two major product flops. So one is the Crystal Pepsi that I mentioned earlier, which is probably the more famous of the two.
That's my guess.
The other, which actually flopped before Crystal Pepsi, was called what, and what was its purpose?
What was crystal meth?
That's a hit. That's not a flop.
Oh shit.
They had Crystal. No. They had Pepsi Light, which was supposed to be their diet Pepsi, but it was just really bad. And
man, I was gonna say, well, yeah, Burke, we know it's one of your favorite things, but we're talking about the flop part. I'm gonna go with Mountain Double Dew or Diet Mountain Double Dew, and it was supposed to be.
So the answer is actually
double the caffeine, but half the caffeine because it's diet.
Okay. It was actually called Pepsi AM, and they were trying to design it to be the pop for breakfast drink, like people who drink pop at breakfast.
What's pop?
They were trying to make like a better pop for that. Shut the fuck up, Burke.
Oh, damn! I hit Michelle's
I will
button
fight
right
people
there.
over pop.
Holy shit, that was awesome.
People out here force me to say soda, and it makes me so uncomfortable.
It's better than saying Coke. Let's be honest.
So yeah, they were just like, hey, like we're trying to make this for the morning drinkers, and it.
Kind of like the new Mountain Dew one that they tried to make, that AM Mountain Dew one that
Kickstart,
failed.
it's still there, dude.
It's failed. Let's be honest.
It's still actively in every single one, and it takes up 3 shelves on the stupid thing with all this. They have a strawberry flavor and all this other crap.
Technically, a guy held underwater still might be alive until the last bubble comes up, but the last bubble's coming. I'm just saying, it is dying. Okay,
there's too. The shelves have too many of them for it to be. Like, you wouldn't dedicate that much space to it.
Puppy Monkey Baby killed that before it even launched. It's over. It's over.
Brian has his things on it. The thing that confused me was like, dude, if people want to drink that, like drink pop in the morning, they're just going to drink pop in the morning. They're not going to go for, I want a breakfast flavor. It's like, no, I grabbed a Coke because I wanted a fucking Coke. Like, we need to make an evening coffee. No, people that are wanting coffee are just going to fucking drink the coffee.
Yes.
There's people that are like, where's my coffee? And I'm like, where's my Pepsi?
That tastes like scrambled eggs. Like, what?
I really want coffee now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next question here. Coors is a company associated with beer, of course. They did try to branch out into what other beverage market, but it failed because nobody cared about anything from Coors that wasn't beer.
They tried to do mountain spring water.
Did you
from
say
the Rockies?
Did you say a year by chance? Or I was singing the Tap the Rockies little jingle, and so I couldn't hear half your question. I'm gonna go with they tried to make a different version of SD cards.
I did specify beverage market.
They wanted to make an SD flavored morning
silicone flavored.
I
was actually gonna go with kind of like Brian, but cool spring fresh soda water. The
sparkling one or something?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to give you both a point. Yeah, so they created the Coors Rocky Mountain Spring Water is actually its literal name. So good job, Brian.
I knew it was something like that.
But yeah, everyone was like, this isn't.
I'm sure you're at work.
We don't want
You're at work
this.
and you got a bottle of Coors on your desk. People are like, "The fuck, Tom? It's 9 a.m."
I also found I didn't use it in the quiz, but Coors also did like a clear, non-alcoholic thing that was supposed to taste like you were drinking a wine cooler that didn't have alcohol. Weird. And that also flopped.
Sounds awful.
Did you know my new house is actually going to be like I don't know, maybe less than 5 miles away from the Coors brewery.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bottle. There's no way you don't get yelled at if you have that at work.
Yeah, it's just like
Burke's digging a tunnel underneath through his house to the Coors plant.
He's got a pipe installed straight from the factory to a tap.
They're like, I don't get it. Our numbers are low every month.
Buy one keg.
Years before the Apple iPad took the portable tablet world by storm, which Apple product, which was tablet-like, wasn't quite a tablet, failed so bad in 1993 with its price tag of $700 that The Simpsons actually had an episode that made fun of it.
Oh, shit.
Brian gets this one.
No, I don't, because...
What?
Hold on. Let me think about this. An Apple product on The Simpsons...
I mean, this is going back to 1993, though, so he's gonna be pretty...
Yeah, I would have been pretty damn young when this episode came out.
Yeah, but you have The Simpsons on like repeat in your mind at all times.
Yeah, that's in the early. It was the Flapple, as in the flat apple. Done.
I'm gonna go with the Macintosh tablet is the actual name.
Tablets. That's new. That's a new word.
Shoot, I'm muted. Let's see here. Let's go with the Apple gaming console.
No, they did have a gaming console that flopped, but this was not the answer we were looking for here. Yes, they did.
Okay.
So this was actually called the Apple Newton, and it was a PDA. So they were, and this was before PDAs even took off for the brief period of time that they did. But the thing is like the handwriting was so bad, like you couldn't read it, and I think that's the part that the Simpsons were specifically making fun of. But yeah, so it's just, and the thing was, it was $700, which in 1993 was a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh, that's a lot of money now.
Yeah. Google wanted to take on Second Life for some reason a few years ago. So they invented sex-free creation. And I specify that because that was one of their marketing gimmicks, was that like, oh, Second Life's full of sex and ours is going to be family friendly.
You're saying that Google tried to invent a like Second Life-esque thing?
Yes, they were trying to take on Second Life.
Oh.
Hold on, what's Second Life?
I'm going to call it, I believe it was...
Second Life's like that virtual world.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a never-ending MMO simulation, basically. It's like The Sims on crack, but no.
All right, you know what? It was called Zune Paradise.
I'm going to go with the Google real life game.
I'm gonna go with Google Now.
Okay, so it's called Google Lively. And then so after that flopped, they were like looking around, they're like, okay, so let's take on Facebook next, and then flopped with Google Plus. Probably Google should just stop trying to take on people and just
stick to making
find their own path.
Yeah, their own stuff. Yeah.
Next question. Remember when Netflix hadn't quite ruled the world yet? What project designed to make the DVD services separate from the streaming service and also be able to send video games was backlashed so heavily that it was removed from existence a mere 23 days after being officially announced?
Oh, shit.
So this was, you said, before Netflix?
No, it was Netflix itself. And it was before they were like, the giant they are today. But they had the DVDs at home with a little bit of streaming, I think, at the time. And what they were going to do is they were going to be like, okay, you're going to pay $5.99 for the streaming. You're going to pay $5.99 for the DVD and video game service. They were going to separate them.
Netflix
was going to cost more.
Netflix Mail.
And then they were also going to add video games.
Yeah, because they were going to mail you stuff. Netflix Mail.
I thought they still had that.
They do, but it's like it's one package. Like you just pay and you can get DVDs and the streaming, and this was going to separate it.
It's what's the product called? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
My
Netflix
gosh.
Mail.
I was so pumped up because this was like
I was too.
I was like all ready to do it because I was like, fuck yeah, because I wasn't thinking about
Yeah, because
streaming
it
at the
was,
time. It was just I wanted the video games.
Right. Yeah, because it was GameFly was around at the time, and it was going to be cheaper. It was going to be more expensive than Netflix already was, but it was going to be a lot cheaper than GameFly.
Yeah, I just remembered the package deal. I was like, that's so fucking worth it. I don't fucking remember.
Okay,
I'm gonna say
that-
Netflix main.
Netflix. I don't know. Game.
Game.
Netflix now and Netflix eventually.
I feel
Let's call it Game Now or something.
Right.
I don't know.
I feel
It was called Quickster.
that's what it was. I almost said
Quickster.
Flickster.
Yep.
I was thinking Flickster, and I was like, that's not it.
Quickster.
That's a stupid name.
I spelled that
That
wrong.
is a stupid name.
There we go. Yeah.
Wow.
So people were just
What a
like,
spelling.
you're going to separate this. You're going to jack up the
Quickster.
prices. Go to hell, Netflix. Like,
Yeah.
and I think this was at the time. I don't have the exact year, but I think this was at the time where, like, Netflix was just starting. Blockbuster hadn't failed yet, so it was kind of like, hey, what are you doing? If they tried to do this now, I'm sure people would be all for it. The Twitter Peak is a product that was a flop before smartphones were the normal for everyone. It was designed to send and receive tweets, give a full QWERTY keyboard to tweet faster than the common T9 typing at the time. However, it had a major drawback that made it so it couldn't even do its job. What was that drawback?
It couldn't connect to the internet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it did not have like a cellular connection of
Yeah.
some form.
I was gonna go. You had to plug it in because it didn't have Wi-Fi.
Nope. So the issue with it is that you could only read 20 characters of tweets. So tweets at the time,
Wow.
of course, were only 140 characters, but you could only read the first 20.
Wow.
So everyone was just like, why? Why would I buy this device?
That's stupid.
Wow.
What year?
Okay.
What year was that?
I'd have to look it up. I don't have
2017, I
it.
believe.
What was it called?
The Twitter Peak. Peek.
Yeah, no, duh. It's just a fucking peek. You're not getting the whole goddamn tweet. You're just peeking at the tweet.
Wow.
That had to have been like an somewhere between like 07, 08 thing. There's no way.
It was
Twitter
pretty
even around
early.
in that time? In
Yeah.
08?
It's on.
It's been around since 2006.
Wow.
Wow.
It's on Amazon. You can look at one. Hold on. Copy. You can't buy it, but okay,
Huh.
that's pretty cool.
Wow.
I mean, it was a nifty idea, but like it literally couldn't do what it was designed to do. So,
What a disaster.
and then of course, like within months and years, like smartphones became so much more normal than they were at the time.
Sure.
Don't worry, people are updating their reviews of their Twitter peak still. Okay, I got to
Gosh,
minimize this,
I was
otherwise I,
so
won't pay
concerned
attention.
about that. Okay. Number 8. Which energy drink in 2007, which had 2.5 times the amount of caffeine as a Red Bull, tried to market itself as an alternative to hard drugs by naming itself after a hard drug?
Oh my god. Oh my god. I know this too. Shit. Cocaine.
I'm gonna go with. I think cocaine's right, but I want to try and take a point away. I'm gonna go with oxys.
Oxys. Yeah, I kind of like the cocaine thing. That's where my head was at.
Okay, yep, so the answer is cocaine. Yeah, so they were like, yeah, just drink this instead of doing cocaine, and they called it cocaine, and people were like, what?
Yeah. I actually
My
remember
kids are
this.
drinking cocaine? Like,
Yeah, what are you drinking, Billy? Cocaine. It's like,
I should have said speed because otherwise I'm listing a downer on mine, but whatever.
in a world before information was constantly at our fingertips, ESPN created what product to try to keep sports fans connected to statistics all the time?
I believe that was Shouter, where it was some guy yelling out a window going, hey, the Knicks are up!
That was weak, Brian. That was weak.
No, it wasn't. Michelle laughed.
I laughed pretty hard.
Who knows? It's like Burke. It's if I'm making Michelle laugh, you can get me a half a point. It's my Hail Marys here.
I know they had a widget on like Windows XP that would be like the bottom ticker. I don't know if that was what it would be considered because it wasn't a sold product, but we'll call it it was a product they literally called the Sports Center.
I'm going to call it was the ESPN Ocho.
But I'm guessing it was like a little PDA that was specifically designed for sports.
Also known as ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Nice. Dodgeball references are always a win. So, Craig, what you described was kind of close. So they created this thing called Mobile ESPN. So they brought it out in 2006, and it was a flip phone. So at the time, smartphones were kind of edging their way into the market, and flip phones were becoming a little uncool. People at least had, those devices that were between flip phones and smartphones at the time.
Sidekick or something,
Yeah. So, and its only purpose was just to receive info from ESPN. So you couldn't even actually use it as a phone. It was literally just to receive stuff from ESPN. Oh. It was a $300 phone.
Holy crap.
And you had to pay $6,500 a month to receive all of the info.
Holy crap.
Oh. 65 a month?
Yes, 65 a month just to be sent sports statistics on this device where that was its only purpose.
Wow.
I remember I had.
Did they have their own network?
They were up to date.
I had a Palm Trio in 2006, and like internet, like if you wanted internet data, it was expensive as hell, but it wasn't $65 a month. I'll know that much.
Yeah.
And you could do other things with the phone.
Like go to ESPN.
A flight out to ESPN costs less than this device.
Your initial startup cost would be $365. Like that's crazy just for sports statistics. 45 has had a lot of things fail in his time. In 2007, he tried to create a line of a food item, but its failure came because he decided to only sell it through the company Sharper Image, which is a company known for its gifts and electronics and not food.
I know the answer.
Who did you say?
I said 45.
45.
I already know the answer.
I don't know who that
I gotta
is.
go last.
Okay.
It's Trump.
45th president.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Damn it. Why do you ruin this? I knew
product.
the answer.
Well, I know the answer too.
I mean, it doesn't really ruin it.
What Trump?
He names everything after himself.
What? I don't know. The Trump University. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wasn't it Trump Steaks?
Yeah, it was just...
I don't know.
Trump steaks. They're incredible.
Yeah, so he created... Yeah, it was Trump Steaks. So he wanted to sell steaks to people, but he did it through an electronics store. Exclusively.
The magazine picture is one of my favorites of all time. It's just him like over a table like, oh.
You know when you I don't know if you do, Burke, but if you go into a department store and you just find it happens a lot around Christmas, Target's full of the crap. You just find like these random things like the electronic coin counter and you know Swiss Army. They're the company that sells all of that shit. And he was like, yeah, this is the best place to exclusively sell steaks.
Well, if you ever taken a flight, you know how in the front of every pocket you always have that little airplane magazine that sells stuff. That's what that is basically.
Well, just think if Best Buy had a corner for steaks, you're like, what the fuck is this here for?
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like, it's not like the product itself was awful. It's just steak. It was just like, why are you going through a gift and electronics shop?
What a moron. Well, okay.
I remember seeing that being like, what the blue shit's happening?
TV show cancellations are not unusual, especially on Fox.
Yeah.
However, one of their cancellations goes down in history as the most expensive cancellation of all time because they had invested $50 million into a very short first season. And I'm looking for the name of the show.
Too Human.
Is that a Fox show?
I thought I don't know. I thought it was. I liked that show a lot, and I think it was a Fox show.
I'm gonna go with Almost Human.
Is that what the actual name of it was? I thought it was Too Human. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it was like the Utopia show or something. I don't know.
I mean, you're probably not wrong. I think it was about a utopia. It's called Terra Nova. The pilot episode alone was like $20 million of it, and like the rest of the season was the other $30 million, and then it was just like, yeah, we're done. Which was
Dark
a lot
Angel.
to invest into like a first season of a show.
That's
the
ridiculous.
neighborhood I grew up in was called Terra Nova.
Oh,
fun fact.
Too Human was the game with I think Ellen Page, right?
Yeah.
What am I thinking of?
Almost Human with what's his name?
With the robot guy.
Yeah, that's Almost Human.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, okay, it was Almost Human. Okay, that's what I was trying to think of.
All right, and then the last question for today. There is a reason Coca-Cola as we know it is branded as Coca-Cola Classic. In 1985, Coke tried to change the recipe because Pepsi was taking over the market. What did they call the product at that time, which only lasted for a few months before they pulled it, returned to the old formula, and added the classic to the branding?
I know the answer. I want to go last.
I know the answer as well.
What is Coke?
No, they New Coked us. They New Coked us.
New Coke.
Yeah, they literally just called it New Coke, and everyone was like, this stuff sucks ass. Like, we're still going to drink Pepsi. And then Coke was like, okay, we'll go back. And then that's why they added the Coca-Cola Classic.
Oh.
Yep.
Interesting.
Did you say that was your last question?
That was.
Where is New Coke still sold and still loved in the United States?
I'm going to guess Tennessee.
I'm going to guess Arizona.
Ohio.
My facts could be wrong, but this was as of my last knowing of it when we did a deep research into New Coke during Mike's bachelor party in Cedar Point. But it's the Pacific Northwest really likes New Coke. Like, it's still actively sold. It's
like
not
Seattle?
Like, yeah, just I mean like Oregon, Seattle, like the whole
that whole area up there.
Pacific Northwest it's still sparsely sold, but it's still sold there because people are like, I love this shit. Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
I thought that was interesting. I was
figure.
like, I kind of want to go and have a taste. So how did we end up, Berkey?
Well, the second runner-ups are Bragg and Burke.
Yeah.
Wait, does that mean that old Breen is the king of the failures?
Yeah, pretty much.
Breen's king of the failures? Yay!
Nice.
Oh my god.
I'll take it.
Congrats,
it's been a while.
No, we had that whole New Coke conversation during Mike's bachelor party because we were saying that Xbox New Coked us because they told us like, oh no, it's got to always be online. It's got to always this. It's got to always that. And they're like, it's like we're going back on it. They're like, they're trying to New Coke us.
Sons of bitches. Oh, that's too funny. Wow.
Not that I think we could talk about this as a topic, but I could easily do parts like 2 through 5 for this quiz because I found a lot. I had to really control myself to like narrow it down. I found a lot of cool shit, like Apple's gaming console. Didn't know that was a thing, but it failed hard.
I didn't know either, and I guessed
also,
it.
the controller. You remember? Do you guys remember what the Revolution controller looked like before they made it the Wii? It was like that fucking boomerang thing.
Yes.
Apple literally did that for their gaming console.
Somebody at Nintendo was like, hey guys, do you want to take a look at this? Like, what the hell is that? Is that a prototype? No, this has already failed. Maybe we shouldn't.
This is a cautionary tale of what not to do.
And then some of them were like so obvious that I left them off because I was like, everyone's gonna get that.
You really think that we would have got the obvious ones?
You probably. I mean, one of them was like E.T. the game.
Oh yeah.
One was like Google Glass was one that kept popping up a lot. So.
Yep.
Did anyone else? Okay, can I? I know we're probably over on time, but to be fair, did anyone else like when they first saw the Google Glass thing? Said I'll believe it when I see it, and then it failed. On that one, or did anyone think that was going to be a thing?
Do you not remember when we lived together? I was debating on buying it because I got into their alpha program.
I remember when Craig was going to buy it.
I do remember that.
Oh my god, I wanted that thing so bad. I still want them.
Yeah, a lot of the things I was coming across was like a lot of times they always did really well in tests, and then it was like they would just get to the market and just be like, nope, don't want it. It's like they would test, 50,000 random people, and those 50,000 random people, the majority would be like, yeah, this is great, and then they sell it to the whole US and they're like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah, I that Google Glass thing, like the concept behind it was cool. Like in theory, it just, I don't know. In practice, it was just, impractical, and that's why I think it probably didn't work. But I don't know. What do we know?
All I know for a fact is that it would have cost me, I think it was like $1,600 or something at that time to go through and buy it. And you know exactly what I would have been thinking now, sitting here looking at my I got my coin here. I would have had my Google Glass right next to it. I'd have been like, motherfucker, I got dunked on.
bitches.